Hello, everyone. Hold on, trying to hide my slides here. All right, there we go. Hi, everyone. I am Karen Greeno, and thank you so much for joining me this evening, where we're going to craft a fabulous holiday arrangement that even your mother-in-law will be impressed with. And I say that I have the most amazing mother-in-law in the world, so I know anything I put together she'll love, but I can't wait to share these little tips and tricks with you so that you can grace your holiday table this season with something really spectacular. So I know we are waiting for a few more people to join. So while we're waiting, drop in the chat, say hello, tell me where you're tuning in from, and I will give you a little shout out. And while we are waiting for a couple other people to join, just so you know, I know questions will kind of come up as we go along. Make sure to drop those in the chat box because I will have a Q&A session at the end. We're going to kind of dive into this material pretty rapid fire, so don't worry, you'll get a replay. But at the end, I will be answering all of those questions. And George is also here in the chat. He is my second in command, awesome husband, who is going to be supporting us on the tech side. So if you have any issues with being able to hear me or see me, just let me know. Bridget is tuning in from Charlotte, North Carolina, and so is Caroline, my Charlotte peeps in the house. Thank you so much for coming, guys. All right. And again, make sure as we go along to drop those questions in the chat box. So we are actually tuning in from my kitchen today. We had a little bit of a Wi-Fi snafu at my studio. So we chose to move here, gave me a good excuse to clean up the kitchen. And also it gave us a lot stronger Wi-Fi signal. So hopefully coming in loud and clear with an awesome picture. So we're checking on checking on some tech things right now. Is everything okay? All right, we're good. We've got the thumbs up. So we are going to get started. So like I said, I'm Karen. I'm the owner of Lily Green Thumb's Floral Design. We mostly do weddings and events, but I've really found my passion for teaching and sharing flowers with all of you. So thank you for tuning in today. So we'll hop back over to the slides before we dive into the actual tutorial. So this class, we're going to show you how to arrange a holiday centerpiece like a pro. And I'm going to actually be creating a bit of a linear arrangement today, even though we've got a round container. I was talking to some lovely ladies at a workshop last night, and a lot of them were saying that with having a long dining room table, they really struggled with how to make something that would complement that shape of table. So that's what we are going to be doing today. All right, so in this webinar, I'm going to show you how to arrange a festive arrangement or a festive flower arrangement with some tips that'll really make you look like a pro. And by the end of this class, you'll be able to create a masterpiece that even will impress your mother-in-law. And remember to stay with me until the end because I have a special bonus for you if you stick with me until the end. All right, so remember, turn off all distractions. I talk fast, so we're going to be a little rapid fire here with these tips and the mechanics. But again, don't worry, you will have the replay. So you are in the right place. If you want to be more confident with floral design, you love the idea of arranging flowers, but really aren't sure where to start. You want to have that knowledge with flowers. You want to know how to take that bundle of flowers from Whole Foods or Trader Joe's and turn it into something really special. And you are here because maybe you've tried before and you just feel overwhelmed with all of the information out there and you just want a step-by-step system that will show you how to go from a bunch of flowers to a beautiful arrangement. I already went over this, but I am Karen, founder of Lily Green Thumbs. I counted up the other day and we have done over 1,000 weddings and events in our 12 years in business. So Needless to say, I love arranging flowers and also sharing it with you. I started teaching floral design a couple of years ago, and honestly, it's been one of those things that really took off during COVID. And so I'm really excited to keep this as part of what I do. Just last night, I actually taught a wreath workshop at one of our local country clubs, and it was just so much fun being there and being hands-on with all these women. So I'm excited that you are along with me on the ride. So in this class, I'll be showing you some quick tips and tricks that you can immediately go implement in your own designs this holiday season. All right, and again, make sure you stick with me till the end, because if you love what you see here, I have a way that we can work together more. So let's face it, 2020 really brought us away from parties and get-togethers and gatherings. And now that that's all coming back, this is really the perfect time to start experimenting with floral design and playing around with it and seeing if you can really hone that craft. So let's get to the design tips. And I'll go through these one by one, and then I'll actually show you how to implement them. All right, so the first tip is a solid structure. So with a container like this, it's got a larger mouth in it. You have to create an armature of some sort to keep the flowers where you put them. That's going to be super, super important. The second step with this particular type of arrangement specifically is going to be a greenery base. I don't do this with all of my arrangements, but I definitely do it for holiday arrangements because I think the greenery is really what gives it that seasonal flair. Obviously, we're not going with the traditional red, white, and green holiday flowers here. So this is what's really going to give it that flair for the season. Whoops, I tried to use my clippers as a mouse. Spoiler, that didn't actually work. All right, so the third step is going to be your floral. With the floral, we're gonna start with our largest blooms and move to our smallest. And then the last is accessories. This is not necessarily something that I do in every floral arrangement, but I think it's just a little extra fun to have in a holiday piece. So I'm going to show you how to incorporate that in a very classy and classic way into your holiday pieces. Okay, so just a little more in depth here. The structure is going to make or break your centerpiece. It's what gives it the support. It's what's going to keep your flowers where you put them. I'm going to show you two different ways, or explain two ways that I create structures in my containers, and I'll show you my favorite way. All right, and again, the second is that greenery base that's really going to give it the seasonal flair. The third is your floral accents. I actually misspoke a second ago. I said that we were going to start with our largest blooms and work to our smallest. But with this style, since we're going to create a linear shape in a round container, we're actually going to start with our linear flowers because that will give us the overall shape of the arrangement. And last but not least, we'll do those fun little accessories. All right, so if everyone's had enough of those silly little slides, drop a yes in the comment box and we will get to designing. All right, so let's see. Yes. Yes, I guess. Haha. Oh, thanks, Caroline. You are too much. All right, Bridget is ready. I love to see it. All right, so I will stop sharing. Oh, Bridget's excited. We got two Bridgets in here. Oh, all right. Well, thank you, double Bridgets. I appreciate it. It sounds like double digits. All right, so who remembers our first step in creating our holiday arrangement? Drop it in the chat if you remember what that first step is. I'm not going to give any spoilers. You guys got to be on it. Oh, the solid structure, says Caroline. You are exactly right. And in this structure, I almost stabbed myself in the face with this. I got to be more careful with these sharp edges. So we're going to be using chicken wire as our structure in this container. This is my favorite mechanic because it's reusable. You get a really nice organic look to it, and it's very versatile as well. So the one downside about using chicken wire is that it's really only best in a container you can't see through. And that's why I picked this one here. If you're using a clear container, I would recommend doing a tape grid across the top to basically create that same armature. But this is my definite go-to. All right, so I'm going to show you how to make this work in your structure. And actually, I'm going to shift my laptop right here so that it's directly under the camera because I keep on looking back and forth. All right, so we've got our chicken wire here, and this is special Florist coated chicken wire. Honestly, you can use any chicken wire you would like. You can get it on Amazon, you can get it from Lowe's, anything like that. You may have to cut it down a little bit if it's from Lowe's because I think it's a wider roll, but really anything will do. So I would say about 10 inches by maybe 7 inches, and we're gonna roll it into a tube. So you've got your little tube there, and I'm gonna try to hold this a little closer to the camera so you guys can see that. And then from there, it just overlaps just a smidgen, and we're gonna tuck our raw ends in. So you can kind of see, I'm just tucking those raw ends to make a little bit of an egg shape. I'll shift my little container over here. And then we'll get this in the vase. I recommend putting the area where the chicken wire connected, put that down into the vase as opposed to the top because sometimes it'll gap and it won't provide as much structure as you need. So we're gonna kind of smush this in. You want the chicken wire to stay really tight in the container. You don't want it to drop down. So you can kind of pull it as you go and keep maybe an inch or so visible from the top. This is going to be really important when it comes to a linear style arrangement because you want to be able to have that security to get length out of your stems. All right, we'll add a little bit of water here. Now, believe it or not, water is actually the leading killer in flower arrangements. Not enough water, dirty water. The way to make your flower arrangements last as long as possible is to change out the water regularly. Give it fresh water, make sure there's enough water. I can't tell you how many times I've had an arrangement sitting on my kitchen counter and I've checked and the water has maybe gone down halfway. These flowers get really, really thirsty when they're in a vase, so make sure that you are watering regularly. All right, so now that we have the structure, what is our second step? I kind of gave it away by messing with the greenery, but it is your greenery. So I'm gonna actually shift my flowers over here because I'm afraid I'm gonna knock them over straight into the sink. So we're gonna start with our longest pieces. And in floral design, whether you're designing in a clear container or one you can't see through, really important to remove the greenery that is going to be under the water line. You don't want that to muck up the water. It can transmit bacteria into the water. You just don't want that. All right, so we're just going to use some of these greens, some of the longer pieces, to create a line in our arrangement. We're going to do it both directions. So we're working with some cedar and we've got some princess pines, some magnolia, just a nice little assortment there. One thing that I love about the holidays and holiday flowers is that you can really go nuts on the greenery. I think it really is what makes it. And some of this I actually cut out of our own backyard. So when you are looking at greenery in your yard, your mother-in-law's yard, your neighbor's yard, whoever, one surefire sign that it's going to do really well in a cut flower arrangement is if it's still green this time of year. So things like pine, obviously, cedar, magnolia, camellia foliage, all of those that kind of survive the winter and maintain their color are going to be great, great additions into a cut flower arrangement. All right, so now that I have my lines with my greenery, get that kind of wedged in there so you can see how it's kind of taking shape a little bit there. We are going to build out the body of the arrangement. So in the body, so that we keep seeing this more linear shape, we are going to tuck our greenery a little bit tighter into the arrangement. So you want to make sure that this is kind of sunk down in a little bit so that those lines really do show up. And this little turntable just has a mind of its own, and it likes to go even when nobody's touching it. You can kind of continue those lines a little bit there, but we've got a really good mix going in. Get some more. I love the smell of the cedar too. It just, if someone has a good recommendation for an amazing evergreen candle that smells real, let me know, because I am always in the market. That just smells like Christmas to me. All right. Just a couple more pieces there. And when you're doing a linear arrangement, I know I have this on a turntable now. A lot of times when you're doing a linear arrangement, you don't end up rotating it as much as you would a round arrangement. So I may not even do this on a turntable under normal circumstances. But when you are doing round arrangements, it is nice to have just to kind of rotate around as you're designing. All right. Get a couple more pieces going in here. Good little mix there. All right, we'll save a couple of pieces just in case we need a little extra something at the end. Clean up my workspace here. All right, so next we are going to hop over to the flowers. So first step in this style of centerpiece is going to be our linear flowers. And those linear flowers are, obviously they're going to be linear, but we're going to cluster them on either side of the arrangement to give length. So that will really make the flower, this particular flower arrangement, fit very well on a long dining room table. So for our linear flowers, we are going to be using stock, which is one of my absolute favorites. It almost has the texture of a hydrangea, but it comes in so many beautiful colors. The one thing I don't love about stock is actually the greenery. It just doesn't hold up very well, and honestly, it starts to get a little stinky as the flowers age. So this is one of those that I remove all of the greenery from it before I put it in the arrangement. All right, so we are going to extend those out. And a little tip, you can always cut your stems shorter, but once you cut them, you can't make them longer. So a lot of times with this style of arrangement, I do end up re-clipping certain blooms. If I put them in the arrangement and I don't like where they're sitting, I'll take them out, I'll give them another clip and put them back in. All right. Kind of making sure these are even on both sides. Give it a little wiggle into the chicken wire and make sure that it's getting down deep into the vase without going straight up and down. That will ensure that the flowers can drink all that wonderful clean water that you're going to keep putting in your flower arrangements. All right. I believe we have 5 of those stalks. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to do 2 on either side, and then just to carry the color, I'm going to put another one in the center, but I'm going to tuck it down a little bit more. That way we get that gorgeous color throughout, but it's not going to interrupt the lines of the arrangement. Get all that greenery off of there. So all you smell is this wonderful evergreen greenery. You don't smell stinky stock leaves. All right, so I'm gonna have that just kind of off to the side a little. All right, and I'm glad I saved some of this greenery as well because I can see there's kind of a little bit of a hole opening in the center. So I'm gonna add a little touch of greenery to the center. Now that I have some other stems in there and it'll support it straight up and down, that's gonna be a great little placeholder for that. All right, so now we're gonna hop over to our largest flower, and that's going to be these roses here. And I'm gonna show you a little bit of a trick. This is called reflexing. So this is where you take a rose that's a little tighter, a little smaller, and you can open it up so that it has a bigger, lusher, more glamorous bloom. So I think most of these I've already reflexed at least a little bit. So I will start with this guy right here. So what you'll do as you're reflexing a rose, you're going to gently pull those petals back and just open it up, rotate around as you go, and just really get the full beauty of that rose. And I see you guys are putting some questions in the chat box. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm going to have George collect all of those questions so that we can answer them all at the end. But I see one coming through. Do you cut your stems at an angle? Yes. So cutting them at an angle increases the surface area for the flowers to drink the water. The only exception to that really is if I'm doing a bridal bouquet and I'm cutting it straight across purely for aesthetics. But very, very good question. All right, so now you can see that that rose is big and open and full, and it's going to really be a showstopper in this arrangement. So since I think this is our biggest one here, I'm gonna have that smack dab in the middle so it can be our showpiece. And again, since we are doing more of a linear shape with this, we want to keep our flowers in the center of the arrangement a little bit tighter in. Rotate around so you can see how I'm placing. I'm kind of starting at the edges and working up. That helps with structural support for the flowers too, kind of keeps them in place and keeps everything balanced. All right, actually, before we go any further, I completely forgot about these fun little tulips that we have here. I only have 3 of them, so we're going to cluster them all together and make another really fun line just going one direction in our arrangement. And one thing that's really fun about tulips is they are phototropic, which means they will actually follow the line of, or follow the light of the sun or even the light of a ceiling fixture. So as your arrangement sits out, it is very, very likely that those tulips will move around a little bit because they will continue to grow. So it's not flower elves that's come and rearranging your flowers in the middle of the night. It is just what tulips do. So a lot of times when I have tulips in an arrangement like this, I'll reorganize them every couple of days so they stay where I want them to. All right, so we'll keep going with our roses. Another great thing about this style, the structural style of arrangement, is that if there is a flower or two that kind of gets past its prime before the rest of your blooms, you can very easily pop it out of the arrangement, replace it with something else, shift around some greenery, anything like that, without losing the entire arrangement. This one's a really pretty one. I think he needs to be right in the middle. All right, let's see. One more over here. Get him right out to the side. Carry that color just a little bit further out. So we can really start to see the shape of the arrangement taking shape, if you will, as we're building up. All right, so next we're going to go with our next smallest flower, which is going to be this Sweet William. It's just a fun little pop of a hot pink. It's almost like my take on the traditional red and green. And I'm gonna have these resting a little bit higher than the roses. So what happens is you get the weight of the roses in the base of the arrangement, and then it's building out as you go. Keep going with those, and you can use this to kind of fill any gaps that have started to appear in the arrangement. You can create a little bit of height if you want, but I just think it's a fun texture and color pop. All right. Get those guys in there. About one more. Let's find a fun place. All right, I'm going to use this to keep carrying our line out to the sides. Now, when I'm making an arrangement for a table, typically my rule is that you want the arrangement to be under 12 inches tall, or you want the vase itself to be over 29 inches tall. That's going to keep the field of vision clear across the table. A lot of times people ask us that when we're doing wedding consultations or talking to them about the flowers on their tables. I feel like holiday flowers are traditionally a little bit lower, but that's something to keep in mind. Keeping your flowers at that 12-inch mark will really help with line of sight. Now, I think you can get away with going a little bit taller with candles if you're pairing any candles with these arrangements, but typically keep the denser flowers a little lower. So now we have a Sahara spray rose, and this is just a fun little taupey color. You can actually reflex spray roses very similarly to how you reflex roses. They don't reflex quite as much, but they will continue to open as they mature. So again, I'm going to have these a little bit further out. So we're not creating anything with a completely flat dimension. We've got some movement. Even though a lot of our flowers are very similar shapes, we are getting, oh my gosh, this vase. It just wants to be buddies with the flower arrangement. So we're getting a lot of good dimension and depth by having various heights in your flower arrangements. All right, so something like this, I see this a lot with spray roses. You can actually detach one at either one of these joints here, and your spray rose will go a little bit further, and it'll also play a little bit nicer with the other flowers because you won't have those stems pushing the flowers away, which will create a gap in the middle. All right. Once the chicken wire starts to fill up a little bit, sometimes you got to give the flowers a little bit of a wiggle to get them in there. All right, last but not least, we have this beautiful scabiosa. It's just a really, really gorgeous texture, something a little different that you don't see every day. And what I love about these is they have a little natural curve to the stem. So a lot of times they come with this little protective plastic sleeve on them. A lot of times I'll take that sleeve off. So you can see it's almost like a little straw that's slit down the side because I love how playful that movement is. And we're going to use that movement to create more linear direction with this arrangement. So we're going to cluster our scabiosa a little higher in the arrangement, but also following the lines here. And get those little sleeves off. So you can see some of them have a little bit more curve than others, but I just think it's fun. It's something different, not something you see every day, certainly not something you see in a super traditional holiday arrangement. Some of these I'll leave the sleeve on a little bit just so I can create a little bit more length. And the scabiosa will kind of dance over the arrangement like little butterflies. So you can see I made that one a little bit taller there. The longer the scabiosa, typically the more it will kind of drape in the arrangement. So if you don't want to drape it too much, you can leave them a little bit shorter. I think it's just kind of the weight of the head of the flower is just too much to handle for those tiny little stems. All right. I'm saving this guy for last just in case we had any little holes we needed to fill. And don't worry, you'll get the recipe sheet for this after you get the replay video. So you will have that on hand and you can work through at your own pace to create your own floral masterpiece. All right, so I'm gonna put that one right there. Works well because it kind of mirrors the one on the other side. Turn around so you can see what I'm doing here. Give it a little wiggle. All right, so now we have our linear shape. You can always come back and tuck some more of that evergreen greenery into the body of the arrangement to give it a little bit more texture, a little bit more movement, and just a little bit more of that holiday flair. All right, so I'm actually gonna get rid of this turntable here because he is moving just way too much for me. All right, so next we are going to go to our accessories. And for these accessories, I have some fun, but not too bold holiday ribbon, and I have some pine cones. So what I would do, and I actually did this unintentionally, I would save your thicker, sturdier stems if you're wanting to add some accessories into your arrangement. Save those because you can use those to insert those into your arrangement. And I'll show you how to do that. So you're going to start with your wire. We're going to do our ribbon first. If I could find the end of the wire. Oh my gosh. There we go. There we go. All right. So you're going to take a little bit of wire, maybe about 6 inches. You're going to take your piece of ribbon, which I've already cut these in the little V cuts. So you want to leave that end open. We'll loop our ribbon around, bunch it up like that, and then wrap it with the wire. Give it a little twist, and then that will wrap around the stem. So now we can use the stem to insert the ribbon into the arrangement. And of course, mine just fell off. Of course, this is how you know this is live. Unscripted and full of bloopers. All right, so we're going to stick that into our arrangement just to add a little seasonal flair. So you can see it just has a little tuck and then that little tail there. Do that again for these guys. Probably need about 10 inches of ribbon is a good length. And you can do this for birthday arrangements too, if you're playing with a theme, especially one that is hard to match in flowers. Think turquoise or, different hard to match colors. This is a great way to bring a little pop of color in that maybe you wouldn't necessarily see in nature, a way to incorporate that into a flower arrangement. So you can see I've just kind of tucked that in there. And I'll do one more on this side. That last piece of ribbon, I think I'll do it right there. And your stems don't have to be particularly long that you're using to insert these in the arrangement. It's basically just to give it a little bit of an anchor point. But one thing to keep in mind is you want to tuck it in far enough so that you don't see that raw end of the top of the stem. All right, now we are going to incorporate some pine cones. So this beautiful pink evergreen arrangement has a little bit more of a winter flair as well. So we're going to do this very similarly to what we did for the ribbon. You'll just need a little bit more wire, maybe about 12 inches or so. And you will take that wire and you will wrap it around and kind of between those little pine cone pods. If anyone knows the official name of these little pods in a pine cone, drop it in the comments because I honestly have no idea and I've never even Googled it. So that will be your little piece of education for me. Never stop learning. That's my motto. All right, we're going to do the same thing, just attaching that to a stem. Watch, someone's going to Google it and they're going to drop some knowledge on me. We're going to have our little pick so that we can insert that into the arrangement. I'll do one more on the other side. Don't want to go overboard with accessories. I feel like if you go overboard too much, it ends up a little bit chintzy. You just want kind of a little nod to the season, something classy, something beautiful, but I love something that's a little unexpected as well. Right. Get this last one in there. All right, folks. There you have it, your holiday linear arrangement with a little bit of a flair for the winter holiday season without going super traditional and super chintzy. So awesome. All right. And I see the questions coming in. So George will continue to collect those and we'll hop back on those in just a minute. All right, so back to where I started there. So I promised I had a little bit of good news for you. I do have a way that you can continue to work with me, improving your floral knowledge and go really, really in depth on how to arrange flowers. And I call this Flower 101. I've had nearly 700 students go through the program, which is really exciting because we just launched basically a year ago. So it's been a very exciting time to see so many people getting to enjoy flowers, getting to love them, and me getting to be a part of that journey. Katrina here was actually one of my former students. She came to me and said, I know absolutely nothing about flowers. I don't know where to start. And after going through my program, she was arranging with confidence. And I'm super proud of her. She now sends me, I believe her brother sent her a Flower of the Month subscription. And so now she sends me a picture once a month of the arrangement that she has created. So here's my question for you. Are you ready to dive a little bit deeper and learn a little bit more about flowers in time for the holiday entertaining season? So this is Flower 101. It is the first course that I've launched under the Lily Green Thumbs Academy umbrella, and I'm so excited to bring it to you today. In this course, you will learn how to properly process flowers. Try to say that 5 times fast. Properly prep and process flowers so that you will have the maximum vase life for those flowers and the maximum beauty in your arrangements. You'll learn how to create 3 different styles of low centerpieces, and you'll master 4 styles of tall centerpieces. So with those 3 modules right there, you have a total value of $399. But there's more. I feel like that ShamWow guy. But wait, there's more. So you'll also get my rose variety bonus sheet where I'm going to walk through the different rose varieties in each color category that I really, really love to work with. They last long, they have an amazing fragrance, and they reflex well. You'll also get our private Facebook group where I will be going live in that group for live Q&A sessions, so you don't have to worry about getting stuck on any of this. I am here with you along the way. And you'll also get my guide on where to buy flowers. I know that's been something tricky in the past. There's a lot of great sources out there, so I'm going to share those with you. So with all of those bonuses in the modules, you're looking at a total value of $548, but I'm not charging that. It is $149 to get all of that. Enroll in the course. You'll have all of the videos immediately. You'll have access to it for life, as well as the live Q&As. But enrollment is closing this Saturday at midnight. So we've only got a couple more days if you want to enroll. So if you want to hop in and get in on Lily Green Thumbs Academy, go to lilygreenthumbs.com/yes, and George is going to drop that link in the chat box because unfortunately I can't figure out how to get it, so you can click on that link in the slides. Maybe if anyone has a tech workaround on that, I'm all ears. All right, and of course, there is a full refund guarantee. If after 14 days you don't love the program, if you show me your work, I will give you a full refund, no questions asked. All right, and I did say you have stuck with me to the end. I did say there was going to be an extra bonus. And if you enroll while we are live in this class, I'm also going to be sending you my holiday wreath workshop video, which is how I created this lovely wreath behind me here. It smells glorious. I wish you guys could smell it in person, but you will get that wreath workshop. So that is only if you enroll while we are live in this class. So, all right. And again, that's the link. I would love to have you guys inside. We've had a great community going through the program and learning to play with flowers. People who have, started businesses, people who know nothing about flowers, and everything in between. I've had a number of wedding planners join the course. It's just been a lot of fun. All right, so this just gives you a little walkthrough. Once you go through that lilygreenthumbs.com/yes, it'll take you to that registration page, and then you'll automatically get the link emailed to you so you can be a part of that course and access all of your materials. So a little reminder why you are here. You're here because you want to play with flowers. You want to have that confidence to create a masterpiece of your own. You want more knowledge about flowers. You say, oh, that's a pretty arrangement, but I don't know what's in it. This will give you that. And you're also here because, and now I've lost my camera. There we are. All right, we're good. Gotta love technology, right, guys? And you're also here because there's so much information out there and you just want a step-by-step process to go through to create the arrangements that you love. All right, so get your questions ready. I know George was collecting some of the questions that came through with the chat, so I will hop into those in just a second. These are some of the questions that my most successful students have asked before enrolling in the course. So I'll go through those as you get your questions ready. First question, I don't have a creative bone in my body. How am I going to create a floral arrangement? And again, don't worry, I will walk you through step by step, every single step of the way, as how to pair flowers together, how to layer them, and how to create an arrangement with a professional flair. And then the second question, where do I find the flowers and tools that I need? I don't even know where to get started. Well, I am going to create an Amazon, almost like a wish list, where you can go and source all of the tools that you will need to create these arrangements. And again, you'll have that bonus material where you can see different places to order your flowers. And I went the wrong direction. And number 3, what if I get stuck? What do I do from there? What if I have questions? And that's where that live Q&A comes in. I had some great questions the last time we launched this class, even things that weren't covered in the course. So we were able to really dive deep and go over those materials together. So I got you covered with that. All right, so I'm going to unshare my slides here. All right. And hop over to the questions. All right. So Caroline said, earlier this week, I purchased flowers from Trader Joe's. I love Trader Joe's blooms or Trader Joe's flowers. I like to replace random words as I'm reading. It's an issue. My 7-year-old calls me out on it all the time. However, 5 of the hydrangea blooms didn't make it longer than 24 hours, followed all the tips and tricks you shared before, immediately removed from the plastic wrap, put in water, let them sit in water for 24 hours before arranging. I'm sad to have lost as many blooms even before arranging. I have no idea why. So the tips that she is referring to, so hydrangea are very, very thirsty flowers. They're usually the first flowers to go in an arrangement unless you treat them well. Caroline, I will be honest, I think you did everything you could have. They might have just been old flowers. And with hydrangea, one of the ways that you can tell is if the stem has like almost a slimy feel to it. I know that sounds disgusting, but as they're aging, the stem isn't dry anymore, if that makes sense. that's a surefire way to see that it's an old flower. Not all flowers are like that. Hydrangea definitely are. So one of the tips that she's referring to is dunking the head of flowers or the head of the hydrangea into cool water, giving it a fresh clip and putting it back in water. Because hydrangea are one of those few flowers that drink from their petals as well as from their stems. So Caroline, I really think you did everything right. I think you just had old flowers. And I hate that. I wish I had a better answer than that. But I really do think that that's what happened. Trader Joe's also does not put their flowers back in refrigeration overnight. I believe they just leave them out. So typically they'll last really, really well, but sometimes you get some bum flowers that don't. All right, so Bridget says, for us non-professionals, is there a place you recommend for flowers? I see Caroline mentioned Trader Joe's. Any other great places? Yes, so Trader Joe's is definitely a great one, especially during the spring. I mean, they have peonies that make me blush. I mean, they're just amazing. They have some amazing relationships with local growers and some exclusives with certain farms that they really do get some amazing product. There are a couple of websites that you can order from. Some of them have minimums, some of them you don't. I know Flower Moxie is one. I think there's one called Bloom Box, but those are all ones that I go over in the program, but definitely check those out. Occasionally, even Costco and Sam's have decent flowers too. So just be on the lookout. And again, if you're buying, especially hydrangea, checking the stem to see if it has that slimy quality to it, that'll mean that it's an old flower. All right, and Bridget number 2, we've got 2 Bridgets. I love it. Any suggestion for where to buy bud vases? Okay, so one of the lovely little aftershock effects. Oh, buy vases. I'm sorry. I misread that as bud vases. Well, my statement is going to stand either way. So one of the lovely after effects of COVID is that a lot of the glassware wholesalers, hard good wholesalers, are having a hard time getting product from China. A lot of those containers literally are sitting on container ships out in the Pacific. I am really, really hopeful that by the time spring rolls around again, something will happen, something will move, and those wholesalers will be restocked again. I think what you're seeing right now is a lot of professional florists are having to turn to retail outlets for vases. So places like Hobby Lobby, which is always my go-to, IKEA, Michael's, all of those places, a lot of them have really been wiped out because the professional florists are not able to get vases from their wholesalers, so they're having to turn to retailers. But definitely those would be my top 3 as far as resources to kind of go after and see if you can find some there. All right, so let's see if we've got any more questions there. All right, I think Caroline had another question, or is that a, yes, I think that's a new question. I'm squinting because my computer screen is a little further away from me now. In the last 24 hours that the flowers are sitting in water prior to arranging, does the type of container they are being kept in matter at all? Does it matter if they sit in a glass vase versus a plastic container? No, not at all. The only thing I would make sure of is that it's a clean container and you're not having it in direct light or like in a sunny window. You don't want to do that. Unless it's something you're trying to force open, but that's a whole nother story. Just as long as you keep it in a cool, draft-free place, the container type doesn't matter. All of our buckets at the studio are plastic, but a lot of times if we have like a taller stem, something that would be too tall to go in a bucket, we might put it in a tall cylinder vase. So I really don't think the material matters too much. Temperature of the water, cold or lukewarm? Great question. So there are some flowers that do better in cold water. There are some that do better in lukewarm. As a general rule of thumb, I say lukewarm. You don't want to have ice cold water because that could potentially shock the flowers and get them to not open as much as they potentially could. So I would say just straight lukewarm water, nothing too crazy. There are certain flowers that do better in hot water, but those are, you know, some more exotic tropical flowers. So don't have to worry about those. All right, you guys have brought the questions. I love this so much. You guys have been so engaging. I really do hope that you will join me on the inside of Lily Green Thumbs Academy Flower 101. And yeah, this has been awesome, guys. Thank you so much for giving your Thursday night to tune in. And I wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Diwali, whatever you're celebrating. Happiness to you and to your families. Hope to see you guys on the inside. All right, see you later.